you, Andy. This by no means is not to be a program on the life of Clarke Evans, but there are some special people that I do need to mention. First of all, I'd like to commend Gary, my son-in-law, on what he's done for the history of Polk County. If you want to know anything about Livingston and Polk County, here's the man to go to. He has done an absolutely awesome job on finding out all the murders and things of that sort. I really enjoyed sharing with him. But we did tag team each other on this program for the Presbyterian Church about a month ago, and we got some good feedback on it. But what I will try to do is to give you an impression of what it was like before the lake went in and what has happened since the lake went in. And I didn't realize it until a long time ago, I guess, that I was right in the middle of probably one of the biggest cultural changes that ever occurred in Polk County, other than maybe when Hood Brigade was formed during the Civil War and a lot of our people went off to fight for the Confederacy. But my great-grandparents came here from Putnam, Alabama, right after the Civil War, after the carpetbaggers had taken everything away. So we're counting Andy's grandchildren now. We're sixth-generation Polkanians, and very proud of it. But we started out up there, the place where we lived, adjoined my uncle, Louis Stanford, who was married to my mother's oldest sister. And I was so blessed that I was surrounded by an awesome support group. My dad, an awesome person. We had a dairy, so we worked side by side 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And I was only child, and I really missed having 3 or 4 brothers to help out on that, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And then my uncle, Louis Stanford, he was an uncle by marriage, but spent a lot of time with me. And he was, if not the largest cotton farmer in the county, he was very, very close to it. He had probably 2,500 acres of cotton. And it was an era right there that it's gone forever. But had lots of tenant farmers and sharecroppers. And as I got older, I realized, what these people really had to go through. All the tenant houses were 2-bedroom, one kitchen, and 1 living room. No inside bath, no water, no electricity until 1950. And they all had a well outside. All of them fit out a couple of hogs, had chickens, had great gardens, and we had our closest neighbors were black, and I was very good friends with 2 of the boys. One was a year older, one was a year younger. We did a lot of duck hunting and things of that sort on Pinwall Slough. But the tenant farmers were just in a situation where they never really got ahead. They were always behind. And lots of large families. It was very common back in those days. The girls, it was important for them to go to school and get an education. And as soon as the boys got big enough to go to the field, they went to cotton fields. But the cotton farming down there was just the lifeblood of this county. My uncle that I mentioned a while ago had a cotton gin, and he had the first mechanical cotton picker that ever came to Polk County. What year, Gary? Right here. Okay, and on that picture there, that's me on the right there, and my cousin that's 10 years a day older than me is driving, and then a representative from John Deere right there. So that was the first cotton picker, and that field that we were picking, the rows were exactly 1 mile long. So my uncle was very conscious about what would happen, about how much waste that this picker was doing. So he got me off that cotton picker when we got to the end of that road and gave me a cotton sack. and had me go back and pick 2 rows and see how much was waste there. So I picked the 2 rows back by hand. It had 10 pounds when I got the end of it. So he was very satisfied with that. But cotton season always kind of ended just about the time the school started. And I guess back then the schools were, I don't know how they were funded with attendance or whatever, but nobody went to, not saying nobody, but most of the kids never went to school until cotton season was over with. And it usually started just about the time school started. But when the gin cranked up, it ran 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And we were living not too far from where the gym was, and we could hear that noise all night long. But it was an air in there that was just really different. Of course, when you're in a situation like that, and you're not really exposed to the stuff outside, you don't really know what's kind of going on around you. But when the lake we heard was coming in, I can say that there's probably not anybody out there that was more against it than what I was. I mean, it's a difference when you want to sell and a difference when you have to sell. And the appraisers started hitting the areas through there prior to around 1965. And they would come by and give you a price on your property, what it was, and you could either agree to it or they would take that money, put it in escrow, and go to the next one. And there were several people that had held out for more money. And of course, after a while, the court costs and things of that sort, they went ahead and took what was offered. But the gates closed in '69. But one thing that they did when they bought the property was that they gave everything back to the property owner. So I had a little 2-bedroom house that we had moved in there within them. I got back out of the Army. And then my mother and daddy's house, and then the dairy barn that we used to milk the cows in is at my house here in Livingston. We took it apart and made a horse barn out of it, but they gave all the improvements back. And then we resold our houses to be moved. And my daddy, very conservative, we took up every fence post and every strand of barbed wire on that whole place. There was nothing left. I mean, you could tell that anybody lived there. So they closed the gates in '69, and of course the river had a personality all of its own. And one thing that we learned at a very early time was that you had to have a lot of respect for the river because it could get up overnight. And we were kind of on the, what do you call it, Gary, a big island out there?
Well, here's old 190 as it crossed the Trinity River right here. And then in the early days, there was not a road on Alaska unless you went the high road. You go through the river, it wouldn't have been a formal road. But this road, you remember when it came in? 356?
It was a dirt road.
Yeah.
We moved up here in 40 and 50, or 49, I guess it was. We moved up to a dirt road.
Indian Hills Peninsula is going to be right here, right in here probably. And then you turn right on the way to Alaska on what became 356. You cross Pinwall Slough here. And then here was Pop's farmhouse was right here. And then you went on up here, you crossed Kickapoo Creek Bridge. And then this peninsula here is I think we call it the Ottawa Peninsula. Howard Davis coincidentally lives right here in a Stanford home that survived the flooding of the lake. It remained out of the lake. So that's where Howard lived right there. And then Pop's place was all through here.
And when we would flood, it came from the river, would back up Kickapoo Creek and back up Pinwall Slough. Well, Pinwall Slough starts about where Jim Peters' place is right now. In Kickapoo Creek, if you ever go to Groston, you'll cross Kickapoo Creek right outside of Groston, and you almost jump across it. But anyway, we were on a big kind of an island out there, and so when it started to flood, well, it came in through the slough and in Kickapoo Creek. And like I say, my dad had tremendous amount of respect for the river. And TRA kept saying, well, it's going to take all this time for it to fill up and whatever. And my dad was kind of dubious about that. And it just so happened that that spring, we had a real wet spring. So it wasn't overnight, but it was very, very, very quick. And when it started filling up, well, then there were little islands out there that cattle would swim to, and we'd have to get horseback and swim out there to them, gather them up, and get them back to where we could pin them. But the most important thing, looking back to me, is that road where Howard and Carol lived, going down, well, there's the Kidwood Creek Bridge, and going back up through there, it was just covered with tenant houses. They were, like I say, 2 rooms, a kitchen, and a living room, and no running water or anything. They bathed in number 3 wash tubs in the kitchen. They had a wood burning stove somewhere close to the bedroom, and it was not a good life, to say the least. One of my favorite families out there was the Johnson family. They had 17 children, and how they all fit in that house, I do not know. But every one of those kids made good folks. But the people that really, really got hurt is that all of a sudden they wake up one day, and the men that worked the fields all their life, they didn't have a house, they didn't have a job, they didn't have Social Security, didn't have Medicare, didn't have any education. All they'd ever known was plowing cotton and picking cotton and working out the fields. So all of a sudden, all these people were put into the workforce, but it was kind of a pipeline from the boys that they got big enough to not want to work in the field would go to Houston and find jobs, mainly construction, and people would go down there and kind of follow them. But the Johnson family, they had all the children. He came into town, and some of you people, how many here came after 69? Raise your hand. After 69. Okay. Okay. Well, y'all, the ones who probably can appreciate this, but anyway, we had a shoe shop in town, Mr. Elmer Harrison, and everybody remembers that. He was deaf. Well, Scott Johnson, the father of all those children, went in there, and at probably 60 years of age, learned a new trade of working on shoes, heels and soles and things of that sort. And he worked there for a long, long time. One of their children was the first casualty in the Vietnam War, was a combat medic and got killed over there. But yeah, that's the Johnson family. His sister, and several sisters and her brother have the Pit Stop Cafe out at Blanchard. I know a lot of y'all have eaten out there. If you hadn't, you missed something, especially on Fridays. They got catfish. But there's so many memories. I'm so glad that Clarke came today. He was 10 years old when all this happened. He kind of remembers a lot of things that were out there, what we were doing. But trying to talk to some of the rest of the kids in the family, just like talking to a foreign person, because they just have no idea. Trying to explain to them where all the cotton fields were and what all went on out there. But
address your dairy farm. We'll show some slides on the dairy farm.
Okay. I don't want to go there anymore. Well, like I say, out of my job taking care of the calves on the outside. We'd have a cow that might have a bad bag, and we made a nurse cow out of her. And so we left the calves on the cows for 3 days, and they got the colostrum milk, which had all the antibodies in it and things of that sort. And then we'd put 6 calves on 1 cow, and they would root around there until they found them a tip to grab a hold of and made it just fine, right? Excuse me, ladies. But anyway, and we had a pipe system at that time, and we were milking on the. You got a picture of the inside there?
No, sir. That's Clarke's mom right there. That's Miss Evans.
And she didn't work on the dairy, that was just a thing for a magazine. So, but anyway, and that was one of my black friends that we hunted with a lot that helped us out part-time there. But we had a pit type system that we could step down to, and the cow would come in. They were at eye level right there. We milked about 100 cows all the time, and our timing started at 7 o'clock because that was the time the school bus came by. So we had to back up to how long it took to milk 100 cows and feed on the outside and whatever. And that's when we woke up, and that happened to be 3:30. So we did that as long as we had the dairy out there. But there it is on the pit type system. We walked down in there, and then we're milking 2 on one side and making the other 2 ready on it. But anyway, it was a way of life that we'll never see more of. It's just gone. That's kind of like that movie Gone with the Wind. I get thinking, you know, about my feelings about that. The lake was built for the water supply for Houston, and that didn't really impress me a whole lot because we were there, we were happy, we were doing what we like to do, enjoyed farming, and I enjoyed farming, enjoyed the field work and things of that sort. But I look at what's happened and I ask about the people that were here after '69, and that's very indicative of what's happened with our service clubs, our churches, and the whole community. We have had some awesome people move into Polk County, and it's you can certainly see the difference and everything with that. They had some real fine people come in. It's evident in the churches and in all of our community events. But it's like I say, it's a situation that I didn't really know what poverty was till I got older and saw how those people lived and how they supported large families. You know, they're all big families. None of them just had 1 or 2 kids. There was always a house full of them. But how they made it, and I was telling Corky and Andy coming up here, they never got ahead. They never got ahead. They get paid on the weekend. They worked in the field for my uncle. When they weren't farming, they usually had a little marginal piece of property that was given to them and on a sharecrop business. And my uncle was a very innovative man, had a whole lot of common engineering knowledge about him, and he was able to, he saved everything, and he saved the cotton seed and made meal out of it and ground it up, alternated the field between cotton and soybeans to try to put nitrogen back in the soil. But, you know, I got to thinking about it, and I look at my life today, what has happened, and I don't know what I've done without the lake, especially being in real estate, but it has been good to the family. We were able to relocate north of town around the Leggett area, and we were running commercial cattle also at that time. And then overall, it worked out real good for the family, but it was really hard to leave that place where I'd spent all my lifetime there and watch it get covered up with water. But anyway, if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer it for you. Yes, sir.
Clarke, how far away was your school?
Sir?
How far away was your school from Kickapoo Creek?
Oh, my aunt was principal of the elementary school, and Alaska went to the 8th grade. And so the junior high school was at the 8th grade, and then after that, the school bus came by and picked us up, and we went to high school in Livingston. And that was another thing that was real hard for me to cope with. The school bus was an old rickety bus and always breaking down, first one thing and another. Right behind it was a black fellow, Howard Daniels, had a 3/4 ton pickup, a homemade dog box on the back of it, and wooden benches in the side. And so here those black girls out there sitting with me or standing with me to catch the bus, had on their freshly washed dresses and stuff, and had to crawl in the back of that truck on those dusty benches to go to school. And I got on the bus right in front of them. And I just, there were a lot of things that just were not fair, I guess you'd say. But I had a whole lot of respect. I spent many a time eating meals with that Haynes family. And I got older, I got thinking about what all that I'd taken away from them, because the food was outstanding. It all came out of the garden. And like I say, they had a hog that they butchered. Every once in a while they throw in a possum or an armadillo, but it was all pretty good. But anyway, I had a fantastic support group. Like I say, when I was growing up with my uncle, my dad, and my cousin that was on the cotton picker was 10 years a day older than me. So he got me hooked on the shotgun, and we duck hunted all through that area right there. Had lots of great memories to it. But anyway, it was a good time in my life. Yes, Stan?
A typical day for you, you said you got up at 3 o'clock to milk cows, and then you had to go to school. You know, tell us what, after school, what time did you get home, or what did you do till you went to bed, what time did you go to bed?
Well, you could cheat a little bit on the milking. You're supposed to milk them every 12 hours. Well, if we got to 3:30, time we got the barn ready and such as that, we could start milking a little after 4. So Daddy would start at 3 on the afternoon, and I got home about 4. And so when I got home, I'd change clothes, go to the barn and finish up with him. And it was my job to put out the hay and the silage and take care of the nurse cows and things of that sort. And in the summertime, we baled hay and cut silage and farmed about 60 acres of corn and silage.
And what time did you go to bed?
Just as soon as I could. So, that's one thing about being in deer business. When it gets dark, you're in bed. But and another thing, the best I can remember, I think there were 21 dairies when we were milking, and now there's not one left. And that's another blessing in disguise, is that, you know, we had what was called a fairly large dairy. Well, now, if you try to milk 100 cows, you go broke. There's just no way you can do it. Everything's on a carousel, and they milk 24 hours a day with crews and things. And the technology and the price of equipment, same thing with farming. It's just, you got to get big or get out. But,
was that work on Saturdays and Sundays as well? Is that every day?
On what?
Did you ever get a day off?
Oh, no. We had very short Christmas and Thanksgiving, no vacations. And that's kind of hard to talk to your wife about that. Well, why can't we take a vacation? Well, we got to milk. But, yeah. Yes, sir.
Did you get a chance to know H.G. Ogden? They farmed down there around the Hawks Creek area from back in the 60s, the late 60s. Right before the lake was in. Mr. Ogden?
The Ogden?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
I was fortunate enough to work with them growing up. In my junior in high school, in the summertime with them up in Crockett after the lake came in, farming with them up there, and I didn't get no AC tractor, none of that. But we farmed cotton and Milo up there.
You know, when the Ogden families moved down here from Arkansas,
Yes,
well, there were 2 families, and I mean, they were the big hit in Alaska, because all of them could play various instruments, you know, a very musically inclined family. And another thing that was unusual, and I know the kids have got tired of me carrying them down to Alaska, but the old Smith store is still there, and then the old First Baptist Church and Methodist Church, but they alternated services. One Sunday be Methodist, then the next Sunday you go to the Baptist Church. So it was 50-50 on that, but boy, when the Ogdens hit town, well, things picked up, and they were very talented family. And they farmed up northern of us, over around the Carlisle area, up into there. Yeah. That's good. Thank you.